As I said in my Erika Kirk video, I hate getting political on this channel. And I'm not going to get into the politics of this topic, but I will talk about the people dynamics, because that's the thing that I am forever interested in when I make these videos. I find people very fascinating. And this story, it's getting interesting, that's for sure. So, what am I talking about? If you have been in a coma for the last few months and you just woke up, here's a little background. Charlie Kirk, who was a conservative podcaster, professional debater, if that's a thing, and just overall major conservative political figure here in the United States, was taken out at his last event in Utah. Since then, Candace Owens, who is another major conservative political figure, has been on a mission to find out what really happened to her friend. And I didn't really know, like I said, I don't really follow those circles, so I didn't know how close Charlie and Candace were. But ever since he passed, she has made it very clear to all of us that they were very close and that she is very, very devastated by the loss of her friend. And she's out there looking for the truth. Now, you might say, those of you who have been following the news, what does she mean the truth? We know the truth. They caught the guy. He's in prison. He's going to be tried. They have a story. You talking about those text messages, beloved? Anyway, whether you believe the feds or not, Candace Owens definitely does not believe the feds' version of what happened. She has gone down this really riveting rabbit hole of possibilities of who may have had something to do with it. At one point, it looked like she was kind of blaming a foreign government. Then at some point, it looked like she's blaming this government. Now it seems like she's suggesting that it might be a combination of those two, plus his nemesis may have had the assistance of people who worked for his own organization, Turning Point USA. And she has been providing video evidence. And I have found this whole story very interesting. I gotta say, there's another conservative commentator called Ian Carroll who has been showing some things that really have me scratching my head and going, is this real? Is this real information that they have uncovered? Or are they being led down the wrong path? Because if these are pieces of evidence that are real, oh my goodness, this is terrifying. This is horrifying. But like I said, I'm not going to get into the weeds of the story. I want to get into the relationships, the people in the center of this story. And I want to focus on the relationship between Charlie and Candace. Because I have been so riveted by the stories and the conspiracies that Candace has been leading us down, I've been paying attention to some of the things that she has been saying. And I don't know, guys, but something feels a little too intimate about the relationship between those two. Now, I know that there has been some rumor, some people have been saying it sounds as if Candace is mourning Charlie even harder than his own wife. Is it possible that the two of them had an inappropriate relationship, that they had an affair? I don't think so. I don't think that either one of them crossed that line, but I feel like they could have. Like if either one of them had given a sign, a little nod, a little nudge, I think there's a possibility it could have crossed that line. But I don't think it ever got to that. But the communications between them, the things that they shared with each other, I don't know, it felt a little, it was a little too close to comfort. Let me dive right into it. I have been having these feelings since watching the beginning, seeing Candace so deeply affected by her friend's passing. But then I heard her say this in one of her videos.
Charlie wrote to me, "You're going to be the Iron Lady of America." He had such a political vision for me. I never wanted that sort of a thing. I might be Moses, though. I might not see this whole thing through. LMAO. If that is the case, be my David. I said, dude, you haven't even realized your power yet. He's like, you're so young, was what I was thinking. He went on to say, anyway, I am not sure if I will live to see the end of this revolution. I believe you were the piece that God meant me to meet that will finish the fight. Since the beginning of TPUSA, I knew in my gut that I might get wiped out at any time. I cannot explain it, but I dream about it all the time, like all the time.
Did you hear that? When he said, I believe that you are the peace that God meant for me to meet. And then he's saying to fulfill the continuation of his work. But I don't know, there was something very intimate about how he said that you are the piece that, almost like he was saying, you're the missing piece. You are that person, that special person that God wanted me to meet. That was interesting. That was very interesting. But what I find fascinating about this, that he basically asked Candace to be his successor. In light of the fact that Erika has now taken over TPUSA as the CEO, and unless there's been some change, that was the last word that I heard about that. This is what I believe. The fact that she immediately jumped on the opportunity to become the CEO of this major organization, this isn't something that happened overnight. This isn't something that I don't believe that she took lightly. I believe that it is possible that Erika had ambitions of leading that organization, or at least having a prominent role in there. Since I did my last video, I have learned some things about Erika that really surprised me. Even though she's a part of this highly conservative movement, her husband was of the belief that, women should submit to their husbands, that they should obey their husbands, that they should be in the home, taking care of their children and letting the husband be out there working. Before he met his wife, Erika, she was somebody who was very much a career woman. She had different businesses that she was running. She was a major part of an organization that had to do with adoption, international adoptions, and there's some controversy about that. I've heard both sides. I've heard that the rumors that organization was involved in some kind of trafficking operations, that was not really true. Some people are saying it is true. I really don't care enough to investigate. But she seems to have been very active in that. Also, she is somebody who, from what I understand, she had like a clothing company. She was an actress. She appeared in a season of Summer House, a reality show. She was in a music video as a model. She doesn't strike me as the type of woman who was the ideal woman that Charlie described. The woman that is at her best, at her happiest when she's at home taking care of the children while the husband is out there in the world. And maybe when she met and married Charlie, he kind of put his foot down and said, if you're going to be married to me, you have to be at home with the children. And focus on that. Focus on the children and the home. That's going to be your domain. And I'm going to be the one who's out here. And occasionally she appeared in his podcast. But I think the bulk of her time was dedicated to being in the home, which is what he wanted. But as soon as he passed, she jumped at the chance of taking the reins of the organization. She hit the ground running. She already knew that they were going to be trying new things. Oh, we have a lot of unreleased footage. We can't wait. We're so excited for the things we're going to bring. This is like a week after he had passed. She went and did an interview. I touched on that in my last video. But if he knew she had that ambition and she had maybe the ability to do that, how comes he didn't think of her as his natural successor? Well, because obviously he wanted her to be home with the children. But there was something about Candace that even though she was a woman, also a wife and a mother, he was telling her, I am the Moses who's not going to be able to see it through, but will you be my David? And I believe he met Joshua, because Joshua was really the successor to Moses, who passed away right before the people entered the promised land. And man, that always hits me hard every time. For the first time I heard that story in the Bible, that Moses, he traveled through 40 years through the desert with the people. And just as they were about to go in, God told him, you're not going in. Sorry. I'll let you go up to the hill and look over and you can see it, but you won't go in with them. Joshua is going to be your replacement. And that always gets me. If read the Bible, even if you're not a religious person, you might find it fascinating. There's some weird stuff in there. I'm gonna warn you, but if you can stomach it, it's a lot of fascinating stories in there, and maybe it will change your life. Who knows? Maybe just try it. But that was a tangent. But the truth is, there was something about Candace that he saw, that he admired, that he found dynamic enough to take the reins of Turning Point USA after he was gone. And I would not be surprised if he told his wife this, in case something happened, because it seems like he was obsessed with his own mortality. And he told people all around him, if something happens to me, you must do this. And if something happens to me, you must do that. So I would not be surprised if he talked to his wife and told her, you know what, if something happens to me, I want Candace to be my replacement. But yet that's not what happened. Obviously, by the time he was taken out, Candace had already left the organization. She had kind of broken off with most conservatives because of her stance on the situation in the Middle East. I'm sorry, I don't want to use these words of mentioning countries and regions because I don't want to get demonetized, but you know what I'm talking about. She became a very staunch critic of what's going on over there. And that puts her at odds with most of the people in her movement. And she has kind of become an odd man out. So obviously, once that break happened, nobody in the organization was going to even consider making her the successor to Charlie. But the people who knew him, I am sure they knew that that was his wish. Because even after she broke from the organization, they remained friends. They stayed in touch. They kept on talking to each other. And he, in one of his, from what I understand, one of his last text messages, he wanted to bring her back. And that would have been a major, major point of conflict. But what about Erika? Did Erika know something? Did she know something that we didn't know, that I'm starting to suspect? That no, I don't believe, once again, that they were in a relationship, but there was something really powerful between those two people. And when the opportunity appeared to Erika, even though she should have taken time away to be with her children, to mourn her husband, she jumped at the opportunity because maybe she was afraid that at some point the other Turning Point USA executives would have said, you know what? He did mention that it was his wish to have Candace take over from him. So, let's talk about it. Erika didn't let that happen. She jumped at the opportunity to take over. And I find that very, very interesting, very fascinating. And like I said, Candace has been going down this rabbit hole of conspiracies, of this person could have done it, and that person could have done it, and this person. And I've often, as I listen to her, I would think to myself, I understand that she's mourning, that she's really trying to, this is her way of coping with her grief. Instead of sitting back and just crying, she's thinking, I'm going to occupy myself by solving this and avenging my friend. I get that. But there's a part of me that was always wondering, I mean, if she's friends with Erika and the family and Charlie's family, shouldn't she wait a little bit? This is not the most appropriate time to be going down that rabbit hole and bringing up all this thing and putting out footage. She's been very good at not showing anything too graphic, but describing the injury and which kind of a bullet it was, because it didn't break his neck the way those types of bullet that the feds claim they recovered from the scene. If it was one of those bullets, it would have obliterated his neck or his brain would have been blown up. This kind of talk. This is not the time to be going down that road. Now, if you're doing an investigation, you can't wait for the trail to get too cold. You have to go while it's still warm. So if I was Candace operating on a normal, I'm being mindful of his wife and his family way of doing things, I would be doing this behind the scenes. I would continue my show. I would talk about other things, but behind the scenes, I will be doing my investigation. And once I gather all the evidence, then present it to the public. Maybe 6 months have passed. The family has done their mourning. They're kind of getting back into their routine. Now is the time to bring up everything that I have found. But the fact that she hit the ground running, it kind of made me wonder. I wonder how Erika feels about this. And then one day I saw Candace say, I am not going to stop until I solve this. And the only way I am going to stop is if Erika tells me to stop. And I remember thinking, okay, all right. Okay, she's being respectful then. She's saying if this is too much for her, then I will stop. But as her suspicions have gotten deeper and deeper and darker, there is no doubt in my mind that Erika has picked up the phone and made that call to her and said, you need to stop. I believe that she has done that because she is still very close to the people who her husband used to work with. Remember, she is now the CEO of that organization. She works closely with these people. She's known them for years. She's probably had them at her home many times. She has fed these people. She has hosted them. She has sat down and talked to them and known their spouses and their families. The fact that Candace is now in an indirect way accusing them, she's basically saying this was an inside job. That's what she's insinuating. She hasn't said it out loud, but she's bringing up suspicions like, why was this guy who was the chief of staff, why was he walking away like that? As soon as it happened, he didn't even go and look to see if Charlie was okay. He just put his phone to his ear and walked away and kept on walking. He didn't even look behind to see where his friend was. And he was already telling people what had happened. And what about this other guy who removed the camera footage? Immediately, he disrupted the crime scene. He stood on the chair where Charlie was last seated, stood on the chair to bring down the stuff that was in the camera, and he claims that he gave it to the feds. Why not leave everything exactly the way it was so that the investigation could be done to the fullest extent? Why were they acting so strange? Why was this other one filming himself in the aftermath, doing a selfie video saying, oh, they just shot him? And why wasn't he trying to help his friend? Why didn't security do CPR? By the way, these are all very good questions. These are all very good questions that she's bringing up, these observations of the people who were closest to him. Not only did they not adequately help him the way they should have, but it seems like there was a carelessness. Like they didn't really care about what happened to him. If Erika is as close to these people as I believe that she was, I am sure more than one of them have picked up the phone and called Erika and said, listen, Erika, this is getting really bad. She's accusing us now. Can you believe that? She's accusing us, the people who love him the most, the people who are the closest to him. She did say that if you tell her to stop, she will stop. So can you please just call her and tell her to stop this madness? This is not going to end well for her or for none of us. And I'm sure Erika picked up the phone and called Candace. So why didn't Candace stop? I don't think Candace ever intended to stop. And I think that when she said that, if Erika asks me to stop, I will stop. But I am doing this for my friend because I want to know what really happened. And I think that what she was doing is she was letting Erika and everybody know, if you really loved your husband, don't you want to know what really happened? Aren't these inconsistencies bothering you? Doesn't it seem like something is off? The text messages from the supposed killer and his lover, the wording, isn't this kind of strange? Don't you want to know? And so I believe that Erika did call Candace. And Candace probably said to her, what are you doing? What if those people that you trust so much were the ones who took him out? Don't you want to know? Don't you think your children deserve to know who really did this to their father? I don't think that conversation went well. And I think that today there is a rip there. Now, Erika hasn't said anything publicly. She hasn't addressed any of these things that Candace has said. And I don't know if it goes too deep and too dark, she might come out and say something publicly, because I believe she already tried it privately. And now she's like, oh girl, I'm about to take this to the public. I'm about to put you on blast. Because The public will believe me. I'm the grieving widow, remember? Not you. Yeah, you may have been friends. You may have had feelings for my husband. That's me adding that. But I'm the wife. I'm the one who has the ring and the children. I'm the grieving widow. The public will side with me. So if I go public with my objections, you better be ready to deal with the avalanche of criticism that's going to come your way. You might get canceled, girl. Be careful. I don't know, but I have that feeling. And I saw there was an episode where Candace started out by saying something that I was like, ooh, that sounds like a direct shot at Erika. I don't know. Tell me what you think.
Charlie Kirk did in fact know that turning point was going to be the death of him. He also knew that I was the only person who was going to step up to defend him after he was gone. That sounds crazy, but it's the truth. So let's get started and welcome back to Candace.
He knew that I was the only one who was going to step up. Oof. When I heard that, I said there has been a rift between Candace and Erika. That phone call already took place. Erika already said to her, you need to stop this. I don't like it. And Candace said, no, I'm not going to stop. He was my friend. He was my closest friend. We shared things with each other. It sounds like there is trouble among the family. And there was one time when she said, and I remember that there was footage of her saying, after everything that I have learned, it is sad for me to realize that everything in Charlie's life, in his private life, was fake. It wasn't real. And I'm like, what are you saying? He had a wife, he had children. What are you saying? Are you saying that even the wife was against him? That she wanted this? And like I said in the last video, a lot of people who are saying that Erika looks fake. Like she doesn't look like she's really mourning. She looks like she's flourishing with the attention and everything that is happening. A lot of people are saying that that was a marriage that was arranged. That there are people in the dark recesses of power who put her in Charlie's presence because they wanted her to be like some kind of a mole that would marry him so that she could control him, so that he would stay on the side of the people who were behind that movement. And again, I don't want to get into the politics of it, but one of the theories that has been floating out there is that Charlie was changing his mind regarding his support for that country in the Middle East. Okay, I'll say it, Israel. He was changing his support. He had been a staunch supporter of Israel, and that he was changing his mind. I have a theory. I don't really believe that he philosophically changed his mind about how he felt about them and the situation over there. But I believe that he was reading the tea leaves, and he saw that his audience, which is made up of very young conservatives, that group of people, Gen Z conservatives, are now very strongly on the side of the people who are being massacred. That is an actual thing. We have seen the numbers switch. And because that is his audience, he read the tea leaves and he said, listen, if I'm going to continue to have an audience, I need to change my stance to maintain my relevancy. In order to keep my audience, I have to switch my opinion just like they did. That's my opinion. That's my theory. Let me know what you think. But yeah, it just seems like there was more into that. And again, I don't think that there was anything inappropriate happening between Candace and Charlie. But I don't know, the way they talk. And she even said, because she has been talking about how she has been having dreams and that he came to her in dreams recently to let her know that he was betrayed. If I'm his wife, and I hear this other woman saying that Charlie's spirit showed up in her dream and told her, avenge me. I have been betrayed. That would make his wife feel some type of way. And Candace even talked about the fact that Charlie, because like she mentioned in the recording, he also was having dreams that seemed now like premonitions, where he felt that he was not going to make it, he wasn't going to stay much longer, and that he was also having dreams. And at one point she said, and he would have dreams and tell me all about it, because we used to travel together, and he would wake up and I was like, what are you about to say? She said, and he would call me or he would text me when he woke up, and I was like, okay. I thought she was gonna say he would wake up and roll over and be like, you won't believe what I just dreamt. But no, she didn't say that. She said that he would wake up and text her first thing in the morning. Why was he texting her? Why wasn't he texting Erika? I believe that maybe those two were soulmates on a different level. Who knows what would have happened? But anyway, I don't want to make light of the situation. This is still a tragedy. This is a bad thing that happened. This is bad for discourse in our current political climate. So I don't rejoice. I am not a conservative. I am liberal, but I don't rejoice in the ending of somebody's life because of their political opinion. So I don't want to make light of it, but I'm just saying this sounds very fascinating to me. And I want to stay on top of this. I want to continue to explore this a little bit more. But let me know what you think. Do you think that there was something going on, or there was a possibility that something could have gone on? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see me cover more topics like these. I also talk about pop culture and things in the news. Also, please give this a like if you enjoyed it. Please share it with others. It would really help my channel to grow when you share my content. Also, while you're here, watch other videos that I think you might find interesting. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.